Okay, there's Mr. Todd. I guess we're close to it, but maybe allow him to get up here.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. Great to have all of you here this morning. As always, we want to begin by welcoming all that you bring with you to our service this morning, all of your unique beauty, your beliefs, background, lifestyle, experiences, all that makes you who you are is welcome here today. And this, of course, includes those of you who know this is an important part of our Sunday ritual, but also those who might be hearing it for the first time today. You're equally as welcome in this space. And of course, it includes those who are streaming with us this morning as well. We're also very grateful to have you and embrace you equally as much. Before we greet one another, just a few things. First of all, I wanted to say Happy Pride Sunday. This is a very important part of our annual year together because we're able to both come together and celebrate everyone in our lives who happens to be bisexual, gay, lesbian, transgender. This includes, of course, friends, family, and neighbors, but also ourselves. We're gay and straight together, so I always try to use that unifying language and not assume that when I say we, it is we so graciously embracing those others, but that our community itself is a community that is gay and straight. So it is so important for us to not only be able to celebrate that uniqueness in a world, in a country where it has often been maligned, oppressed, misunderstood. But we celebrate today, Pride Weekend. We do annually, but also it is an opportunity to commit to all the work that is ahead towards justice, particularly for those of us in the GBLTQ community, because the work is far from done. We see the peculiar transgender laws cropping up all over the country, and we know that the hate and those striving for excuses to continue to hate are still there. And even though we've made great victories in recent years, particularly with marriage equality, we also know that the haters and those who are afraid those who want to discriminate and oppress others are waiting in the shadows to come out and legitimize hate and anger and prejudice. So our service today is both about celebrating, about staying steadfast in the work we have together. And it is therefore a very important part of our life as a Unitarian Universalist, which has made standing on the side of love such an important part of our faith. I also want to let you know that after many weeks of gathering signatures, that tomorrow the signatures for the Safer Spokane campaign, which would put Initiative 6 on the ballot, that would fine coal and oil companies for unsafely transporting fossil fuels through our community, those are going to be turned in tomorrow. I want to thank all of you for helping us reach the milestone, not only the milestone necessary for getting us to, I think, the 2,500 or so signatures needed, but at least twice that much, probably a lot more yesterday during the Pride parade and event. So thank all of you for helping with that. I don't think, is Jim Lee here today? Where's Jim? He's out getting a few more signatures. You know, there's Jim. Speak of the, I was going to say devil. Jim, I was just about to thank you. I did this morning as well, for all of the great leadership you've taken in making the Safer Spokane campaign such a success. I know a lot of folks have helped, a lot of folks have gotten the signatures, but you have really been the chief organizer behind this, and you are really my unsung hero of the year because of the work that you did to make this happen. So thank you so much, my friend, on behalf of all of us. 5,000 signatures. Real close. Wonderful. Thank you. And then for those who have been coming or are interested in coming to the Surrock Society meetings on Tuesday, due to a conflict in my schedule, we're going to have this week's meeting tomorrow night at 6, and it will be in the Throw Room, so we don't interfere with the Buddhist meditation group that meets regularly. And then next week will be the General Assembly in New Orleans. I won't be here, so I think we'll probably just cancel that one, but I wanted to let you know in advance so that you can come tomorrow night or hold off for a couple of weeks. And then, of course, oh, no, Peggy, did you text that to me? Peggy had some stuff she wanted me to, an announcement she wanted, and since I'm so close to her, I thought I should. Okay, so Kelly LaGruda and Peggy Eklof will be singing at Street Music Week downtown, woohoo, on Friday at noon, this Friday at noon, and all the money that's donated to their basket or hat, what do you put out, a guitar case or just a basket, all the money that's donated will go to Second Harvest. So, yeah. And, of course, sorry to stretch this out, but today is our annual meeting. So I hope that you will, especially those of you who are voting members, will stay around after our service to have our annual meeting and vote on some bylaw changes and new officers and those sort of things. And there is going to be a lunch provided for a small donation, and the funds are going to end up going to our OWL team, Our Whole Lives, which will end up supporting age-appropriate sex education. So I hope that you will support that as well. And finally, a lot of you heard that Annika Eagle won a pun contest, international pun contest. I'm probably, that's close enough, Annika? I know you came in third place, but you still won. You won third place. You're just like one of my own kids. They're always correcting me when I'm praising them. Anyway. And it was, I think it was is it 90 seconds? Between 90 and second, 2 minutes puns on healthcare. And so she has come so that she can do that just at the start of our annual meeting. So you'll get to hear that, right? So we're so looking forward to her routine. Okay, let's take a few moments to greet one another. And as always, say hi to those you know and love. Make some new friends today. If you're joining us for the first time, don't be shy. We're very glad you're here. Okay, this is a mic check. Sounds like it's working. You really wanted to start social hour early, didn't you? Well, I put all this work into a sermon, so you're just going to have to sit through the service. But afterwards, we will have some social time before the meeting, and you'll have an opportunity to grab some coffee and tea and hopefully some lunch if you can stay. So for now, we do want to move forward by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world, and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
The opening reflection is composed of excerpts from an article written by the American Psychological Association. Mars-Venus sex differences appear to be as mythical as a man on the moon. A 2005 analysis conducted during the last 2 decades of the 20th century underscores that men and women are basically alike in terms of personality, cognitive ability, and leadership. Psychologist Janet Shibley-Hyde discovered that males and females from childhood to adulthood are more alike than different on most psychological variables, resulting in what she calls a gender similarities hypothesis. She analyzed how prior research assessed the impact of gender on many psychological traits and abilities, including cognitive abilities, verbal and nonverbal communication, aggression, leadership, self-esteem, moral reasoning, and motor behavior. And I would like to add, with an unknown author, we are all connected. Our actions are like waves touching all things.
Good morning. My name is Aria Curtis. I'm the Director of Children and Family Ministry here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane. In place of our story for all ages this morning, we're going to do a short honoring of some volunteers. Religious education for our children and youth is at the heart of Unitarian Universalist churches. It is an investment in a future with kind, thoughtful individuals who understand and live out our 7 principles. And that investment in our children and youth makes our community more whole. Kids don't just learn about UUism on Sunday morning in RE, but it is one of the primary places where they get to directly discuss, question, and practice our 7 principles and faith traditions. Volunteering on Sunday morning in RE is a commitment of time and energy, and those who facilitate work hard to welcome and build relationships with our children and youth. I'd like to honor them today. When I say your name, please come forward to stand in front of the dais. Facilitating elementary this year was Rochelle Strother, Terry Ray, Mary Benham, and Robin Burgess. Mark Johnson, Mark Whitman, Sarah Edlin Marlowe, Doug Hugan, Shauna Burchett, and Robin Burchett facilitated junior high. Gordon Teal and Ariel Fitzgerald facilitated senior high, and the following volunteers consistently subbed in RE: Kate Johnston, Wesley Shantz, Cindy Phillips, Megan Newton, and Anna Marie Martin. Serving our youth on the Youth Adult Committee were Bonnie Overly and Elizabeth Fitzgerald. And this year we also had 5th and 6th grade OWL. Facilitating OWL was Phyllis Thayer and Cheryl Rohrig. Thank you all for your service to our children and youth and to our community. Please take a mug from the very attractive box as a token of our appreciation.
We now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this community and its mission to the larger world.
I won't forget when Peter Pan came to my house, took my hand. I said I was a boy, I'm glad he didn't check. I learned to fly, I learned to fight. I lived a whole life in one night. We saved each other's lives out on the pirate deck. And I remember that night when I'm leaving a late night with some friends, and I hear somebody tell me it's not safe, someone should help me. I need to find a nice man to walk me home. When I was a boy, I scared the pants off of my mom, climbed what I could climb upon. And I don't know how I survived. I guess I knew the tricks that all boys knew. And you can walk me home, but I was a boy too. I was a kid that you would like, just a small boy on her bike, riding topless. Yeah, I never cared who saw. My neighbor came outside to say, get your shirt. I said, no way, it's the last time. I'm not breaking any law. And now I'm in this clothing little store, and the signs say less is more. More that's tight means more to see. More for them, not more for me. That can't help me climb a tree 10 seconds flat when I was a boy. See that picture, that was me. Grass-stained shirt and dusty knees. And I know things are gotta change. They got pills to sell, they got implants to put in, they got implants to remove. But I am not forgetting that I was a boy too. And like the woods where I would creep, it's a secret I can keep. Except when I'm tired, except when I'm being cut off guard. I've had a lonesome, awful day. The conversation finds its way to catching fireflies out in the backyard. And so I tell the man I'm with about the other life I live. And I say, now you're Top Gun, I have lost and you have won. He says, oh, no, no, can't you see? When I was a girl, my mom and I, we always talked. I picked flowers everywhere that I walked. And I could always cry. Now even when I'm alone, I seldom do. And I have lost some kindness, but I was a girl too, and you were just like me, and I was just like you.
Before we kindle our candles of care, I had another announcement I wanted to let you know about that I just heard about myself. Tomorrow night, here in the sanctuary, the Spokane Alliance is also having a meeting, a listening season, to discuss some of the ideas that were generated from this congregation just a week or so ago on the direction of the social justice work with the Spokane Alliance in the coming year. So if you want to participate in that, please be here tomorrow night. Lanny, what time again? 6:30. Thank you so much for letting us know. And we are going to kindle our candles of care, of course, for those we're most thinking about this morning. And I want to start with one for Ralph Morgan and Kevin Reese, a couple that frequently attend our church. Kevin has had some health issues, which has resulted in him going under hospice care about a week ago. He's not expected to live too much longer, and they ask that we hold both of them in our thoughts and hearts time. I also want to kindle the candle celebrating the anniversary of Nancy and Dell Avery, who celebrated their 44th year of marriage on Friday. So congratulations to them. So let's take a moment of silence, as always, on behalf of others we might be thinking of, and you'd be welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion.
I would like to introduce today's meditation in song and silence. Please make yourself comfortable. Take a deep breath and close your eyes if you like, as you allow our song meditation to take you into the silence.
I brought my spirit to the sea. I stood upon the shore, I gazed upon infinity, I heard the waters roll. And then there came a sense of peace. Some whisper calmed my soul, some ancient ministry of stars had made my spirit whole. I brought my spirit to the tree that loomed against the sky. I touched each wandering, careless breeze to know if God was nigh. And then I felt an inner flame that fiercely burned my tears. Upright I rose from bended knee to meet the asking ear.
To invite all of you to help with our reading today by turning to number 579 in the back of your gray hymnal. If you need to share with someone next to you, that would be appreciated. Number 579. And in the spirit of our service today, I would invite those of you who consider yourselves to have a feminine voice to start our reading, and those of you who consider yourselves to have a more masculine voice to be our respondents, or whichever one you want to read. And then we will conclude by reading the final stanza together. Those
Today, in the order of service, you may have noticed that it says musical dance interlude. Some of you may have seen that and then went right back into denial. Today, in the vein of commitment and celebration, I thought it would be fun, and I introduced it to Deborah, which I felt brave about, and she said yes, that we would dance a bit, that we'd pick out what is considered kind of an LBGT anthem, meaning that lots of us would know it, and we would dance a bit. And for me, it's anything but frivolous to dance. Sometimes this was our 26th Pride Parade, and sometimes we're given some flack for being silly and fun. And, dancing really isn't silly and fun because we have a lot of work to do, and part of that work is to replenish and recharge and give ourselves that energy. And so I hope that you will, in whatever way works, stretch yourself a little bit. If you're a snapper, maybe add a little hip to it or something. So we're going to dance. We're really going to dance. Let's do it. Okay, Adam, thank you.
Wonderful. And I will tell you, I overcame my awkwardness about dancing by reverting to my old days as a cameraman and realizing I could hide behind the camera as if I were doing something productive, right? So there's always a way out. Remember that. Well, I said earlier, thank you for that surprise, and yes. So when I was a kid, I had an elementary school friend who said, "Hey, I'm half boy and half girl. My father is a man and my mother is a woman." He thought that was a pretty good joke, but it actually made good sense to me. Even though we may appear to be a certain gender on the outside, it made me wonder about what we can't see on the inside. Of course, my culture has been teaching me something different ever since. Yet the distinction between the sexes is very clear, that when God made man, male and female created he them. And snakes and snails and puppy dog tails, that's what little boys are made of, and sugar and spice and everything nice, that's what little girls are made of. In our culture, the distinction between male and female seems about as clearly defined as anything there is. But if every person is born of both male and female, as my boyhood chum's comments help me realize, then we must in some way all be a combination of both. Admittedly, my grasp on biology wasn't great back then, and I didn't understand that making a person isn't exactly like baking a cake. You know, you throw in a little sugar and spice with your snakes and snails, and voila, you have a perfect blend of all ingredients. The sweetness of a cake really depends upon how much sugar is in the recipe. It may be muted by the other ingredients if there's not a lot of it, or it may completely overwhelm the others if it is. But whatever proportion is used doesn't become expressed or unexpressed once it's stirred into the mixture. Right? A baker doesn't put every ingredient one has in the cupboard into a mixing bowl and then program the mixture to only express those necessary for making a cake. Right? That happens in Star Trek, but not reality. Living things, on the other hand, have all kinds of genetic possibilities that don't get expressed. We look and act like our genetic expression, but that doesn't mean that our other genes aren't still there. Our physical gender is usually determined by our chromosomal makeup, either XX in females or XY in males. Hence, all of us inherit an X from the half of the genes we get from our mothers, but may inherit either another X or a Y from our fathers. After an egg is fertilized by a sperm cell, however, whether it has two X's or an XY, the gender of the fetus really remains unexpressed until the final month of the first trimester. Until then, female is considered our default gender. For it isn't until the Y chromosome begins introducing male hormones around 9 weeks that the developing female starts turning into a male instead of continuing on as a female. Her ovaries begin descending to form testicles. Her clitoris elongates to become a penis. Her labia enclose to become a scrotum. Because these fundamental parts, if you will, these base organs are the beginning of both female and male genital structures, and because the already developing fetus only masculinizes when androgen is suddenly introduced to turn them into male structures, as is SOX9, a DNA protein that releases and regulates a hormone that inhibits their course toward female development, female has long been considered our default gender. Stated more simply and less scientifically, we all start as females. Nowadays, the experts are beginning to stray from this simple explanation, realizing that gender distinction is more complex, preferring to describe those first 9 to 12 weeks of gestation as an androgynous state in which we all begin before masculinizing or feminizing. Either way of putting it is no less wondrous. That we all start off the same, as females or as some sexually ambiguous entity that uses the same parts to make subtle changes to our physiology that makes us at least appear to be either male or female. I say appear because our gonadal makeup is only part of what determines our gender. Gender depends as much upon our chromosomal and hormonal makeup as well. For this reason, correctly assigning gender based strictly upon whether or not an infant has a penis or a vagina is irresponsible and cruel when resulting in years of confusion and distress when a person is wrongly assigned. Because this part of embryonic and fetal development is so complex, and because the difference between male and female expression is so subtle, intersexuality is far more common than most would guess, and perhaps more normal than we might expect. Intersexuality is the term now used to describe those of us who express an ambiguous mixture of both female and male physiology. Someone could be born with female genitalia, for instance, yet be chromosomally or hormonally male. Adrenal virilism syndrome is the name given for this kind of intersexuality, which causes a person with female genitalia to masculinize at puberty because of adrenal tumors that start excreting androgen, the male hormone, into the individual's body. It's also possible that what appeared to be a clitoris at birth is actually a micropenis, a blend, if you will, between the two, resulting from some disruption of the masculinizing process during gestation. Not long ago, medicine considered it best to surgically alter such infants to make them appear female, treat them with hormone therapy, and raise them as girls, since it was not medically possible to construct a functional penis. This treatment often turned out to be cruel and a terrible mistake for those who grew up believing themselves female, though they inwardly felt like males. There is a tribe in New Guinea, by contrast, the Kuka Kuka, wonderful name, with only one frequently recurring genetic strain of intersexuality. Though at birth the affected babies look ambiguous as to sex, explains Dr. John Money in the book Human Sexuality, rather more feminine than masculine actually, they are by tradition always assigned as males. This is so because over time it was proven to be the right choice, given that these individuals always masculinize at puberty and identify as such. There are also those born male in appearance, yet have androgen insensitivity syndrome, meaning despite their male genitalia, their hormones do not cause them to further masculinize at puberty. They will go on to develop breasts, maintain high voices, lack facial and body hair, and with the one exception, appear to be female in every way, even though they are chromosomally male. Although most intersexed persons have ambiguous sexual characteristics, there are also some born with fully functional, both kinds of sexual organs. And there are some males, about 5 out of 100,000, born with 2 X chromosomes. Most with this syndrome have feminine qualities, although some do not. And there are those with XY chromosomes, that don't develop testicles during the usual point of gonadal differentiation, preventing the development of those male hormones that would otherwise stop the fetus from continuing to become female. This is called Swyer syndrome, and those XY individuals with it go on to develop normal female organs, including fallopian tubes, a cervix, vagina, and uterus. You may also find it interesting to know that some animals, birds for instance, in them the chromosomal configuration for male and female is opposite what it is in humans. It is the male that has two of the same chromosomes and females that have two that are different. Thus, rather than the sperm determining the chromosomal gender, it is the female ovum that makes the difference. Although the chromosomes in birds and humans are different, they are believed to have developed from a common ancestor, suggesting that the chromosomal difference between what makes us male and female is an arbitrary result of evolution. Other species, like the clownfish and flatworms, don't determine their gender until they mate, at which point one becomes female and the other remains male. Some kinds of water fleas are all female and reproduce asexually by cloning themselves, but if overcrowding occurs, they produce a hormone causing them to give birth to males and reproduce sexually, helping them to reduce the amount of egg bearers in their population. The slipper limpet, furthermore, is a fish that is male while it swims and female when resting on rocks. I don't know what that is a metaphor for, but and get this, the tropical hamlet is another fish that continually fluctuates between male and female while mating, changing genders every 30 seconds. Just try that. We could also conclude, given as we have seen, given some strains of intersexuality are inherited, as with the kuka, that if it becomes more advantageous for the survival of our own species, for each of us to function sexually and reproductively as both male and female, like individual snails that produce both sperm and eggs, then evolution could very well make these non-dominant genetic anomalies dominant, and we would become an intersexed species with a few anomalous members that have recessive genes that make them appear to be just one gender. And they'd probably be persecuted. Actually, I think there is a Star Trek episode on that now that just like in Star Trek. So in recent years, we've also found that many species of frogs and fish are becoming transgender, mainly through male to female transition. Research suggests that the cause of this is man-made chemical pollutants in the waters in which these animals live. And as sad as that is, the very idea that some animals can spontaneously transition from one gender to another proves just how similar male and female are to begin with. And that's why I've said all of this, not to give a biology lesson, but to point out that the line between male and female is extremely fuzzy, and that our sexual identity may be more a matter of our upbringing and our culture than it is physical. Why should little girls like to play dress-up, house, and with baby dolls, while little boys play sports and learn to roughhouse? Both start out much the same, with minor gonadal changes during gestation, yet otherwise remain all but indistinguishable, with high voices and hairless bodies until those hormonal changes that occur during puberty. Nor should we conclude just because an individual's genitals, chromosomes, and hormones all do correspond with what appears to be their gender, that they necessarily identify as such. Bruce Jenner's, who once epitomized the masculine stereotype, recent transition into Caitlyn Jenner is a good example. Just as our biological gender can be mixed, ambiguous, or both, so can our psychological identity. We've all heard stories of those who long felt as if they were trapped in a body not their own. A male trapped inside a woman's body, or a woman trapped inside a man's. Again, due to our cultural perception of gender, we tend to think of such persons as anomalous, as if they are unusual, even strange, and sadly, in many cases, subjects of ridicule, scorn, and inequality. But what if the distinctions between what we consider typical female behaviors and male behaviors are merely inventions of our culture's tendency to absolutize and concretize our ideas about things, rather than coping with the nebulous, indistinct, and mysterious nature of reality? What if our ideas of male and female are from generations of being told that boys play baseball and girls play with dolls? That boys are made from snips and snails and girls from sugar and spice? That boys should be courageous and tough and girls should be caring and ladylike? What if the reason more men don't fall in love with other men is because they've been taught that they can't? And likewise for women. Is it merely the physical gender that we love, or the soul of a person? And if it is the soul, then female and male come in all kinds of packages. We could be physically female and psychologically masculine, or physically male and psychologically feminine. In fact, my two favorite psychologists, Erich Fromm and Carl Jung, suggest we've not fully developed until we are inwardly both. Fromm says eventually the mature person has come to the point where he is his own mother and his own father. The mature person has become free from the outside mother and father figures and has built them up inside. In this sense, my little friend was right. We are part female and part male because we have a mother and father inside of us. Jung, who believed that the soul of every man is feminine, its opposite, anima, and that of every woman is animus, takes this all even further with his notion of enantiodromia, Heraclitus' term that means everything changes into its opposite in the course of time, including males and females. Over the course of psychological maturation, a process he called individuation, through which all of our unconscious qualities become conscious or differentiated, Jung thought that we should come to embrace both our feminine and our masculine qualities. He even pointed out that as we age, males physically feminize and females become more male due to the lessening of testosterone and estrogen in our systems, becoming more androgynous again as we were before puberty. The cultural idea tells us we remain distinctly male and female from birth to death. But were we to alter our paradigm to include the normal hormonal phases of life, we might come to see ourselves as species whose gender fluctuates in different phases of life, masculinizing and feminizing when necessary, but also enjoying a more androgynous existence between the bookends, or during the bookends of our life, if you will. In his book, Sapiens, historian Yuval Harari says that throughout history, different societies adopt different kinds of imagined hierarchies. Among Americans, for example, race has been a huge source of discrimination, but not so among medieval Muslims, he says. Just as caste has been important in India, but not in modern Europe. One hierarchy, however, he says, has been of supreme importance in all known human societies: the hierarchy of gender. Outside of childbearing, which for obvious reason is restricted to those of us with wombs, Harari says societies associate a host of attributes with masculinity and femininity that, for the most part, lack a firm biological basis. Yet every society is replete with laws and taboos forbidding women from doing things considered manly, like working, voting, driving, choosing to have sex, so on, and punishing men who act effeminately. All based, again, not on any biological reality, but upon cultural fabrications. A good rule of thumb, Harari says, is biology enables, culture forbids. Biology is willing to tolerate a wide spectrum of possibilities. It's culture that obliges people to realize some possibilities while forbidding others. Biology enables women to have children. Some cultures oblige women to realize this possibility. Biology enables men to enjoy sex with one another. Some cultures forbid them from realizing this possibility. The irony is that culture insists these limitations are based on biology by reinforcing them as part of nature. When in truth, Harari says, our concepts of natural and unnatural are taken not from biology, but from Christian theology. The theological meaning of natural is in accordance with the intention with the God who created nature. Because our myths around gender are more cultural than biological, furthermore, and none of us, therefore, fully embodies our stereotypes, we must continually enact rituals proving that we are still manly or still feminine enough. And this kind of behavior is further proof that gender is not based purely upon biology. Otherwise, just being born with the obvious set of chromosomes would be enough to assure our manliness and femaleness for the rest of our lives. I brought all of this up today on Pride Sunday as we celebrate the lives of our gay, lesbian, and transgender friends, family, and selves, not as justification for the variety of ways in which we express gender identity, but as a call for fairness and justice for all those who are ridiculed, oppressed, brutalized, and even murdered because they don't play the game of our culture's imagined gender reality. It would be nice if, with the legalization of same-sex marriage, we could conclude that the war is over, that it is now safe to be other than heterosexual in our society. But given the recent reemergence of white nationalism and white supremacy that has apparently been hiding in the shadows for decades, we know all the hate and prejudice is still there, just waiting for the chance to legitimize itself again. And that's precisely what's happening with those so-called bathroom laws cropping up all around the country that would legally allow society to reject any sexual identity that counters its imagined reality. So discrimination against gays, lesbians, and transgender folks is really an attempt to reinforce our puritanical and false ideas of an absolute difference between male and female. For we don't want anyone around reminding us how blurry the line really is. How would patriarchy and hierarchy survive? It's blurry biologically, psychologically, and culturally. Not only an assault upon those individuals who are different, which is bad enough, but it is an assault upon truth and upon reality. But imagine what our world might be like if we could all let go of the stereotypes we have been conditioned to uphold for our entire lives. I remember when my son was a little boy and we were in the grocery store when he noticed a transgender woman for the first time in his life. Is that a lady man? He had to make up the term on the spot because he'd never been taught any of the stereotypical language. I turned, looked at the woman he was talking about, said yes, and then went back to shopping. Today, one of his roommates is a transgender woman, which he gives no more thought to than a fish notices water. That's the kind of society that I want. One in which plurality is so common and so accepted that we don't even have to think about it anymore. We can all just say, whatever, and go about our own business. So I'm going to close with a little anecdote about myself. When I was born, I'm told that the hospital had run out of blue blankets. So I was wrapped in a pink one instead. So I like to say that I came into the world dressed in drag. And I'm not sure what colors I'll be wearing in the end, but I hope between my bookends I can enjoy developing and expressing the masculine and feminine qualities of my nature and embrace the natural transitions between the two, and wave the rainbow flag of inclusion and freedom wherever I go, whoever I am. Or as the teenage girl in me might say, whatever.
We're going to close with a song that's a beautiful ballad of acceptance and beauty. And many of you know it. If you don't, you can peek in the turquoise hymnal. It's 1053. Please stand as you're willing and able to sing How Could Anyone?
Namaste. I honor the place in you in which the entire universe dwells. I honor the place in you which is of love, of truth, of light, and of peace. When you are in that place in you, and I am in that place in me, we are one. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and Shalom.
Shalom.